But we've got to rip the sticking plaster off that we called mass immigration. Rip it off. It'll be difficult for a couple of years. Then all the benefits will start coming through. Yeah, well, for nearly all my life, we've been told immigration brings wealth to the country. That, you know, without immigrants, we won't have an economy, blah, blah. That's all been exploded now this last few months. We've seen the figures. But also last few years as well, we've had conversations around the native British people are not breeding enough. There's a discussion why. Well, why would you bring children into this world now? You can't afford housing, streets aren't safe. We're not creating a country where you want to have children. But we're being told, well, we need more immigrants to do the jobs, to do the crap jobs, to look after our elderly relatives, to keep the NHS afloat. And from day one, I've thought to myself, this doesn't sound right. Because for the more immigrants you bring in, they then get old. So then we've got to bring more immigrants in to subsidise the fact we've got older immigrants now who are using the NHS, have retired. And it's a Ponzi scheme. Eventually, a Ponzi scheme will collapse upon itself. Now, we had a population problem 13th, 14th century with the Black Death. And what, you know, half, 3/4 of Europe up to that got killed with the Black Death. And what came out of that? Better wages for poor people, because all of a sudden there was a lack of supply of cheap labour. So farmers, if you wanted someone to plough your field, you had to pay more. People could choose what farms they wanted to work on, and that started empowering the poor people of this country. Then technology would come along. You know, it might take me a day to plough a field, but if I then hook up a plough to a horse, I can plough 8 fields in a day. And that's what will happen now. If we stop this cheap immigration coming into the country, we would then invest money in technology. We would all be earning more money. People without skills doing manual work would earn more money. Our taxes then wouldn't have to subsidise their wages with tax credits and benefits. We could tax people less because there'd be less people on benefits. And next thing you know, we would have a much better country within 5-10 years. But we've got to rip the sticking plaster off that we called mass immigration. Rip it off. It'll be difficult for a couple of years. Then all the benefits will start coming through.
Well, you're dead right. And I think there was a report by the ONS actually out this week, and I don't know if you've read it. But basically what it says is a declining population, which is what they're arguing we have here, does not lead to a lower GDP, gross domestic product. Apparently, even with a fertility rate of 1.59, at the moment I think we were actually lower than that, about 1.44. GDP, assuming no increase in productivity and no increase in employment rates. So we'll get onto employment rates in a bit. So assuming no increase in productivity in this country, no increase in employment rates of the current people that are employed, with the native population, the GDP would only decline per person, per head, from 33,000 to 31,000 by 2,100. So basically, in 80 years' time, if we didn't have any immigration, we just have the native population, our GDP would barely decline with the existing population.
That's if nothing else changes.
That's if nothing else changes. If productivity increases 1% with the existing population, forget the immigrants, they've all gone. If productivity increases 1%, GDP would increase to £65,000 per head from £33,000 now.
Doubles.
It doubles. And if it was 2%, it goes up to 140,000 per head. So if we stayed exactly as we were as a country, with the people here, increase our productivity just slightly, we would be living a fantastic life, basically. It's a myth. The whole thing is a myth. Again, the lies they are telling us, basically.
And let's say we didn't get richer. Life would be better.
Yes.
Less crime. More cohesion. More in connection with your neighbours and the people around the corner from you and your work colleagues, because you all belong together. less fractured society, less importing problems we've never seen before, like female genital mutilation, honour killing, acid attacks, which we've not had in this country for 100 years, acid attacks, until we re-imported it into the country. So if we had no extra money, or we took a reduction in living standards, everything else would improve. And that would be worth living, because our lives would be better, but with less money. I'd be quite happy earning less money if everything else improved.